Good day, and welcome to Hiroshima University's English Podcast.
Oh, it's the day before Christmas. I wonder what present Joe will give me. Oh, I really hope he gives me a computer. I really want an iPad. Yeah, an iPad.
Hi, Kay. Merry Christmas. Here's your present.
Oh, great. Let me open it. Oh, it's an iPad box. Let me open the box. Oh, it's an iPad. Gantai? An iPad?
Merry Christmas. You said you wanted an iPad.
Oh, no. 皆さんこんにちは。アップル社が出している方の iPad をクリスマスにねだる人は結構いると思いますけど、ジョーはなんと眼帯をくれました。眼帯も英語では同じ発音 on iPad になります。注意してください。
Yes, this month and next month we have a very famous Christmas story for you involving giving presents.
Oh, I love to receive Christmas presents, but I don't want to receive an iPad. 眼帯はいらない。
Haha. This month's drama is a romantic story, Kay, written about 100 years ago by a famous American writer named O. Henry.
Oh, I've heard of him. Actually, when I was a second-year student in high school, we read this story in class.
Yes, it's a good story with a funny ending. Today, before we read the story called The Gift of the Magi, we'd like to do two things. First, we'll tell you about the writer O. Henry. He had a very interesting life. And then, after that, we'll explain the words in the story so that our listeners can understand it better.
Sounds like a good plan. Let's do it.
So, first, the life of O. Henry, the writer of our story. Actually, O. Henry was his pen name.
Oh, not his real name. Why did he use a pen name?
It's an interesting part of the story, and we'll tell you the answer later.
Okay.
First, his real name was William Sidney Porter, and he was born in 1862 in North Carolina.
So that's like the beginning of the Meiji period, and North Carolina is on the East Coast, right?
Yes, William's father was a doctor, and his mother died of tuberculosis when William was only 3 years old.
Oh, poor William. She died of tuberculosis. That's kekkaku in Japanese. A lot of people around the world died of tuberculosis in those days.
That's right. Anyway, when William was young, he really liked reading.
Oh, reading. So that's one reason why he became a good writer.
Yes, and he was also influenced by his aunt, who taught him a lot.
Oh, an aunt. Aunt can really be great.
Right. Anyway, when he was 17, he began working in his uncle's drugstore. And at the age of 19, he became a licensed pharmacist.
薬屋さん、薬剤師になったそうです。I wonder if sold iPads to customers.
Probably those kind, yes, but not the computer kind.
I see.
Anyway, that was good training for him to be a pharmacist. Also, he was a good artist, sketching local people.
Oh, an artist. He was talented.
Yes, but at the age of 20, he developed a persistent cough.
咳がなかなか治らなくなってしまったそうです。
Yes, he had a persistent cough. So, he moved to Texas with a friend because he thought the warm, dry weather in Texas might stop his cough.
Yes, Texas near Mexico has warm, dry weather.
Actually, the nice weather in Texas did cure his cough.
Yeah.
In Texas, he worked on a sheep ranch, did some pharmacy work, and also learned some Spanish and German from Texas immigrants.
Oh, he learned a bit of other languages. Cool.
And he also continued to read a lot, especially the classics.
Yes, classical literature, important books.
In the city of Austin, Texas, William Porter was a popular bachelor.
モテモテだったそうです。
Yes, a good-looking guy. But the girls especially liked him because he was funny, and he could play the guitar and mandolin, and because he was good at storytelling.
Cool.
Yes, in particular, he liked singing in a quartet, and the women really liked that.
歌が上手いとかっこよく見えますもんね。男の人はね。
One day, William met Ethel Estes, a rich 17-year-old girl. They fell in love, but the girl's mother was against the marriage because Ethel had tuberculosis.
Another person with that disease.
Right, but they eloped and got married anyways.
駆け落ちしたんですね。They eloped.
Yes, she was 19 and he was 24. They performed in music and theater groups in Texas, and she encouraged his writing.
やっぱり奥さんがオーヘンリーのことを支持して励ましてくれたんですね。
Yes, he began writing in these days, around 1890, the middle of the Meiji period. For example, he wrote some articles for the Houston Post, a major newspaper, and he was praised.
すごく称賛してもらったんですね。Praised. So William and his wife, Ethel, lived happily ever after? めでたしめでたしでしたか？
Unfortunately, they did not live happily ever after. They had a baby boy, but the baby died quickly.
Oh, how sad.
But luckily, 2 years after their marriage, they had a girl, and she survived.
Thank goodness.
But then, something really bad happened, Kay. In those days, William had various jobs, including in a bank, and he was accused of embezzling money.
銀行のお金を横領してしまったそうです。
Yeah, it wasn't a huge amount of money, but he probably did it. Anyway, he quickly escaped and ran first to New Orleans and then to the country of Honduras in Central America.
What, he ran away? Left his family in the country? How stupid.
Yes, he was stupid at that time.
So what happened? He lived in Honduras. Did the police come and get him? What about his family in Texas?
Well, that is a story for our next podcast, Kay. Did he live the rest of his life outside the United States? What happened?
Let's find out next time.
So, everyone, before we present our story for you today, The Gift of the Magi, there is one more thing that we'd like to do, and that is to tell you about some of the more difficult expressions in our story today.
物語の中の言葉は現代の日常会話に使われるようなものにちゃんと訳されてます。でも英語中級レベルの人には時々難しい言葉が出てくるかもしれないので私たちがお手伝いします。
Yes, the story is set in New York. Della is a young wife, and in the beginning of the story, she is counting her money because she wants to buy a nice Christmas present for her husband, Jim.
Oh, how romantic.
But she has only $1.87.
That's about 200 yen. Oh, she can't buy anything with $1.87.
And 60 cents of it was in pennies.
本当に小銭ばっかりなんですね。
Yes, she had gotten the money by bulldozing the grocer and the butcher.
彼女は食料品店とかお肉屋さんで無理やり値切りまくってこれのお金を一生懸命集めたんですね。
Yes, she did it until her cheeks burned with the silent imputation of parsimony that such close dealing implies.
こんなに値切るなんてっていう無言の非難でほっぺが恥ずかしくて真っ赤になるまで頑張って値切ったんですね。
Then she plopped down in their shabby little couch and howled.
彼女は小さくて粗末なカウチソファーにドスンって座って泣き叫びました。
And this instigated moral reflection.
これは世の中の道徳を反映しているものだと思うようになりました。
Indeed, Life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating.
人生はわーわー泣くのとしくしく泣くのと笑顔でできていて、でもほとんどはわーわー泣くのでできているんですってことですね。
Yes, sniffles predominate. There's a lot of hard times in life. Anyway, then, while the mistress was subsiding from the first stage to the second,
奥さんが第1幕から第2幕まで座っている間に、
O. Henry, the author, tells us about the furnished flat which Della and her husband live in.
The furnished flat で家具付きアパートってことですね。
The flat did not exactly beggar description,
なんか言葉を失うというほどではないんですが、
but it certainly had that word on the lookout for the mendicancy squad.
名ばかりのアパートだったんですね。
In the vestibule below,
玄関下には、
there was a letterbox and an electric button which no mortal finger could coax a ring.
郵便受けがあって、あと電気式の呼び鈴はあったんですけど、人間の手でうまく押せるようなものでもありませんでした。
Also, appertaining thereunto
また、その上に
was a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young.
Bearing means it had the name.
The middle name, Dillingham, had been flung to the breeze.
そのミドルネーム、ディリンガムはそよ風にはためいていました。
During a former period of prosperity,
以前の繁栄の時代の間、
when its possessor had a better salary.
その名前の持ち主がより良い収入を得ていた時には、
But now the salary had shrunk,
でも今は給料が減ってしまいました。
and they were thinking of contracting to a modest and unassuming D.
でその文字たちはもっとつつましやかで謙遜な D1 文字に押し縮めようかなと真剣に考えているようでした。
Della attended to her cheeks with a powder rag.
デラはおしろいを彼女のほっぺに塗りました。
Then she looked out the window dully
Dolly ってぼんやりってことですね。
at a gray cat walking on a gray fence in a gray backyard.
It's a very sad image, isn't it?
Yes, because their salary, $20 a week, doesn't go far.
They can't buy much with only the small amount of money.
But Della really wanted a nice present for Jim.
Oh, Della is great. I love her.
Yes, she wanted something fine and rare and sterling.
Sterling って立派なという意味です。
Something worthy of the honor of being Jim's wife.
ジムの妻であることの栄誉に見合うものを何かあげたかったんですね。
To continue, there was a pier glass between the windows of the room.
Pier glass っていうのはなんか窓と窓の間にはまってる大きい鏡のことです。
An agile person,
機敏な人ですね。
by observing his or her reflection in a rapid sequence of longitudinal strips,
機敏な人は縦に細長い列に映る自分の姿を素早く見ることで
may obtain a fairly accurate conception of his or her looks.
全身像を非常に正確に把握できるんでしょうねっていうふうに言ってます。
Della had mastered the art.
デラはその技術を得得していました。
Suddenly, Della whirled from the window,
She turned away from the window.
and she looked in the mirror. Her eyes were shining brilliantly.
Brilliantly でキラキラしてたってことですね。It seems like she got a good idea.
Yes, but her face had lost its color.
In other words, she was sad or scared.
Now,
ところで、
there were two possessions which the young couple took mighty pride in.
two things which they really liked.
One was Jim's gold watch, and the other was Della's hair.
A nice wristwatch and Della's beautiful hair.
Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft,
もしもシバの女王が通気口の向こうのアパートに住んでたとしましょう。
Della would have let her beautiful hair hang out the window just to depreciate Her Majesty's jewels.
to depreciate Her Majesty's jewels を直訳すると、女王陛下の宝石の色を色あせさせるということです。
Had King Solomon been the janitor,
もしキングソロモンがアパートの管理人をしていたとしましょう。
Jim would have pulled out his watch just to see the king pluck at his beard in envy.
王様は嫉妬で自分のひげを引っ張っていたでしょう。
As Della let down her beautiful hair, it rippled like a cascade of brown waters.
滝のように髪の毛が流れたんですね。
Her hair reached below her knees and made itself almost a garment for her.
髪があんまりにも長いのでもうほとんど衣服のようだったそうです。
And then she did it up again.
She wrapped her hair up again.
Then she faltered for a minute and stood still.
彼女はよろめいてちょっと呆然としてたんですね。
While a tear or two splashed on the worn carpet.
The carpet was old indeed.
Anyways, she got an idea. On went her jacket and hat.
That's a poetic, beautiful way to say she put on her jacket and hat.
Yes, on went the jacket and hat, and with a whirl of her skirts and a brilliant sparkle in her eyes,
スカートははためいてて、目にはまだ涙を光らせていました。
she fluttered out the door.
彼女はドアを飛び出しました。
And she went to a shop with a sign outside that said, Madame Sofroni, hair goods of all kinds.
Madam means Mrs.
Della ran up one flight of steps.
デラは階段を一つ登りました。
And then she collected herself, panting.
そして彼女は胸をドキドキさせながらも気持ちを落ち着けました。
Madame, large, too white, chilly, hardly looked the Sofroni.
なんかソフローニっていうのはちょっと優しそうな感じの響きですけど、マダムは大柄で色白すぎて冷ややかで、とてもソフローニっていう名前のようには見えませんでした。
Madame wanted to have a sight at the looks of Della's hair.
That's a fancy, 装飾的な way to say she wanted to look at the hair.
Yes, she wanted to have a sight at the looks of the hair. And she lifted the mass with a practiced hand.
That means Madam was skilled at handling hair.
And she offered $20 for the hair.
Ooh.
And Della agreed. Della sold her hair for $20, about 2,000 yen.
Oh, the beautiful hair. But I think she really wanted to buy a nice present for her husband.
I think you are right, Kay.
Oh.
Anyway, the next 2 hours tripped by on rosy wings. Forget the hashed metaphor.
それからの2時間はもうバラのような翼に乗って2時間が過ぎていきました。
Della ransacked the stores looking for Jim's present.
Ransacked usually means 奪うとか漁るって意味なんですけど、but here it just means that she looked and looked for a good present.
Right. She turned all of the stores inside out.
すべてのお店の中をくまなく見て回りました。
And then she finally found the perfect present, a platinum fob chain.
プラチナ製の時計の鎖を見つけました。
It was simple and chaste in design.
chaste って上品という意味です。
It properly proclaimed its value by substance alone, and not by meretricious ornamentation.
ゴテゴテしてなくて素材の良さが価値を主張していました。
The chain was even worthy of the watch.
まさにその時計にふさわしいと言えるものでした。
The chain was similar to Jim. It had quietness and value.
寡黙だけど価値があるということですね。
With that chain on his watch, Jim might be properly anxious about the time in any company.
ジムはどんな人の前でも時間を気にすることができるようになるでしょう。
Now, without the chain, when Jim was with other people, he sometimes looked at the watch on the sly.
On the sly means secretly.
On account of
Because
the watch had an old leather strap that he used in place of a chain.
Instead of a chain.
And that, everyone, concludes all of the higher level expressions in our first part.
And with that, let's listen to Hiroshima University's English podcast version of
The Gift of the Magi
by O. Henry.
The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry, Part 1. $1.87. That was all, and 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by bulldozing the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher until one's cheeks burned with the silent imputation of parsimony that such close dealing implied. 3 times Della counted it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Della did it, which instigates the moral reflection that life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating. While the mistress of the home is gradually subsiding from the first stage to the second, take a look at the home. A furnished flat at $8 per week. It did not exactly beggar description, but it certainly had that word on the lookout for the mendicancy squad. In the vestibule below was a letterbox into which no letter would go, and an electric button from which no mortal finger could coax a ring. Also appertaining thereunto was a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young. The Dillingham had been flung to the breeze during a former period of prosperity when its possessor was being paid $30 per week. Now, when the income was shrunk to $20, though, they were thinking seriously of contracting to a modest and unassuming D. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home and reached his flat above, he was called Jim and greatly hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, already introduced to you as Della, which is all very good. Della finished her cry and attended to her cheeks with the powder rag. She stood by the window and looked out dully at a gray cat walking a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months, with this result. $20 a week doesn't go far. Expenses had been greater than she had calculated. They always are. Only $1.87 to buy a present for Jim. Her Jim. Many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him. Something fine and rare and sterling. Something just a little bit near to being worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim. There was a pier glass between the windows of the room. Perhaps you have seen a pier glass in an $8 flat. A very thin and very agile person may, by observing his reflection in a rapid sequence of longitudinal strips, obtain a fairly accurate conception of his looks. Della, being slender, had mastered the art. Suddenly, she whirled from the window and stood before the glass. Her eyes were shining brilliantly, but her face had lost its color within 20 seconds. Rapidly, she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now, there were 2 possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out the window someday to dry, just to depreciate Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. Had King Solomon been the janitor, with all his treasures piled up in the basement, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed, just to see him pluck at his beard from envy. So now, Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knee and made itself almost a garment for her. And then she did it up again, nervously and quickly. Once she faltered for a minute and stood still while a tear or two splashed on the worn red carpet. On went her old brown jacket. On went her old brown hat. With a whirl of skirts and with the brilliant sparkle still in her eyes, she fluttered out the door and down the stairs to the street. Where she stopped, the sign read, Madame Sofronie, hair goods of all kinds. One flight up Della ran, and collected herself, panting. Madame, large, too white, chilly, hardly looked the Sofronie. Will you buy my hair? Asked Della. I buy hair, said Madame. Take your hat off, and let's have a sight at the looks of it. Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madame, lifting the mass with a practiced hand. Give it to me quick, said Della. Oh, and the next 2 hours tripped by on rosy wings. Forget the hashed metaphor. She was ransacking the stores for Jim's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of the stores, and she had turned all of them inside out. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and chaste in design, properly proclaiming its value by substance alone and not by meretricious ornamentation, as all good things should do. It was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. It was like him. Quietness and value. The description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with the 87 cents. With that chain on his watch, Jim might be properly anxious about the time in any company. Grand as the watch was, he sometimes looked at it on the sly on account of the old leather strap that he used in place of a chain.
Well, everyone, Della got her hair all cut off and sold it for $20. Then she bought a beautiful chain for the watch.
Will Jim be happy? Let's find out in part 2 next month.
Joe, the title of the story is The Gift of Maggie. What does that mean?
Let's find out that next month too. It's an important part of the story.
And finally, next month, we will tell you all about the rest of O. Henry's life.
Yes, remember? He has escaped out of the United States and has run away to live in the Central American country of Honduras.
What will happen?
Let's find out next time.
Merry Christmas and see you next time.